What is going on, everybody? It is Dylan here with a brand new video. Today's video, I'm going over 2 quarterbacks to avoid taking on your fantasy teams this year. I'm using Fantasy Pros Best Ball ADP, and I'm only using the Best Ball ADP just because that's where all the drafts are happening. No one's really doing redrafts yet. It's usually towards the end of the preseason. But first quarterback I'm going to talk about is Tua. Tua is at quarterback 11 right now. Quarterbacks I like behind him: Kirk Cousins, Anthony Richardson, Geno Smith, Jared Goff, Aaron Rodgers, Russell Wilson. All quarterbacks behind Tua that I like. Tua being at quarterback 11 just does not make sense to me. I get of some of the highs that Miami had last year. We could look at it here of looking at PFF's weekly finishes, and we look at Tua. He had a quarterback 2, quarterback 1, quarterback 4, quarterback 4. Yes, he was banged up with concussions and back injuries. All that aside, he had 4 top 10 quarterback finishes. And out of that, they were all top 5 quarterback finishes. So his highs were very high. These two win you your matchups. Probably even the fours win you your matchups based off where Tua was going. But when I think about Tua and the Miami offense, I think about of what they've done for Tua. They haven't done much for Tua. They've done stuff for their offense, but it wasn't for the passing game. They re-signed both Raheem Mostert and Jeff Wilson. They draft A-Chain, and there's talks of them bringing in Dalvin Cook, which, yes, he can help in the receiving game, but I don't think it moves the needle that much compared to what they have now. I think they could sort of recreate the Dalvin Cook and what he brings to the offense with those 3 running backs. They lose Mike Gesicki. I don't like Mike Gesicki. I never really have, especially for fantasy. But they don't replace him with anybody. Like, no one in the level of Mike Gesicki. Mike Gesicki was still at a smaller level. They don't replace him with anybody. They don't make much moves with their offensive line. And I'm supposed to believe that Tua goes higher than this. I'm not buying it. They bring in Robbie Chosen, whatever he names himself now. That's pretty much it. And all it is another speed guy, but he hasn't been efficient with his speed at all. And Tua's supposed to be... I'm not buying it on being the quarterback 11. There's other quarterbacks behind him that I would rather take. One of which is Daniel Jones. I'm not taking Daniel Jones at quarterback 13. Now, you might ask yourself, like, why concern yourself with this? Well, there's 12 teams. Most leagues are 12 teams. So you're talking about Tua being one of those 12 team starting quarterbacks. And that's if one of these teams doesn't already take 2 quarterbacks, and now you're looking desperate of trying to build up your quarterback room. So you're going to have to build with anywhere from Dak all the way to Derek Carr, quarterback 10 to quarterback 19, to try to redeem and make up for not having these elite quarterbacks in fantasy, these elite quarterbacks, and you try to make up for it. Daniel Jones is not one of them. The Giants obviously bring in someone huge like Darren Waller. They got the deal done with Saquon. They draft a wide receiver, but the wide receiver is a slot. They have so many slot receivers that offense is kind of conflicted, if you ask me. But we look at Daniel Jones's history, and his numbers were never good as a quarterback. Whether it's you could say rushing, yes, but it wasn't rushing like you saw with a Jalen Hurts, Josh Allen, Justin Fields, Lamar Jackson, like any of those guys. Though those are efficient runners. Daniel Jones, I think, just runs because he can't throw the ball. Like, they have guys he could throw the ball to, especially someone like Darren Waller, but he's had Evan Ingram, so I don't really get the huge bounce. But if we look at his numbers last year, he was quarterback 9. He had a quarterback 8, quarterback 3, quarterback 4, quarterback 9, quarterback 10, and a quarterback 1 finished last year. So 3 top 5 and 6 top 10 finishes. Other than that, he hurt your team. Like weeks 1 through 3, which are key weeks in fantasy, that's kind of where you get the gist of where your team's at if you have to make those very extreme moves to try to save your season, if you feel very confident. Those 3 weeks, he did not help you. And then he gets a quarterback 8, and then goes back to quarterback 21, quarterback 14, gets another good week, quarterback 3, and then back to quarterback 27. Like, he did not help your team. And he's still being drafted at quarterback 13. Yet again, like Geno Smith, they add so much for Geno Smith to make that offense even better. Like, they added stuff for Daniel Jones. The Daniel Jones and Tua thing is different. They added things for Daniel Jones, but Daniel Jones as a fantasy quarterback is just not there for me at all. Especially in Dayball's offense, which could be really good. We saw in Buffalo. We saw an improvement, but the Giants, in my opinions, were frauds last year. The fact that they got to where they were was crazy with the roster they have, and that roster still doesn't impress me. But you're telling me even Anthony Richardson I would take over Daniel Jones for the rushing upside. If that's why you like Daniel Jones, which is probably one of the only reasons you do, I would just take the risk on Anthony Richardson. It's a huge risk if he'll even play all season, whether if you want to say he gets injured or they're just not looking good at all and they put Gardner Minshew in. I'd still take the chance on Anthony Richardson over Daniel Jones. Geno Smith in the Seattle offense, adding JSN, adding Charbonnet, their offensive line gets more experienced. Jared Goff in Detroit to where they add... I think their running back room improved with Gibbs and Montgomery. And hopefully they get healthier. They add Laporta to replace Hawkinson, essentially. Aaron Rodgers and the Jets. Like, Aaron Rodgers probably isn't going to be as fantasy relevant as people think, but he's still going to have those games to where he looks like old Aaron Rodgers in the Packers, and he wins you weeks. And I'd rather take a chance on a Jets offense than I would the Giants offense. And even Russell Wilson having the capabilities of having a comeback season with Sean Payton there. And Derek Carr, that offense of Olave, Thomas, Shaheed's going to be there. Their running back room is very well set. Their tight ends are good. Their offensive line yet again gets experience. And all these quarterbacks are going behind Daniel Jones, and significantly at that. We're talking almost 2 rounds that some of these quarterbacks are going. So you could still make, if you're needing another quarterback, or for some reason Daniel Jones is your first option at quarterback, I just take risk at some of these guys and build a quarterback room of 2 to 3 people and just go for matchups. Just look for matchups and just go from there. I would not take Daniel Jones or Tua. Those are 2 quarterbacks I am avoiding in redrafts this year. I hope you guys did enjoy the video. I will see you in the next one.